I like the part of me. Evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. You're all very welcome. Hope you're enjoying your week. Tonight, sometimes in life you're joined by greatness, by people who just ooze sunshine and success in your life. So, fortunately for us, we have Robin Chelsea on tonight. I like it. I was going to practice that earlier on. Tonight we are joined by our good friends GSI. How's that? Is that better?
Whatever.
I'm going to try and build you up a wee bit and just bust your bubble.
I'll go on then, why not?
You've been the megastar. John is a very successful paranormal investigator who's also good at all other kind of stuff. And he's been very successful on, I was going to say Netflix. It's no Netflix, it's Paraflix. And he's bound for greatness and stardom.
Along with the rest of the team.
Talk about John now. He runs built up. How's that? Was that all right for you, sir?
Yeah, I know you don't mean it, but I appreciate it, dude. But we've got a Paraflix exclusive for you in a bit.
Not a word. I never made a single word of it.
I know you didn't, but it's appreciated.
And we have Rob and Chelsea, two other fantastic members of GSI. Put you in the picture. Long story sideways. GSI, one of the first teams we ever interviewed back in 1943. And we remain close through all the years. Turbulent times, happy times, as you do. And we regard them as family. Unfortunately, John's wearing a Ghostbuster t-shirt tonight, but we won't hold it against him. You know. Welcome out. That's the introduction done, isn't it? Right, I've stopped enough BS now. How are we doing, folks?
All right, good talk.
Yeah, we're good, thanks.
I think that was the longest intro you've ever done in the whole 2 years that we have been running.
Oh no, but John, you said I could go on for hours. I just keep going and going and going. Because he's such a megastar, he's such an amazing human person. You know what I mean? That there's so you never run out of things to talk about.
I'm looking at he's taking the piss now.
I think he is.
All right, okay.
I think so.
How could you tell?
I said I can't work out if you're taking the piss now.
I've been taking it since we started.
Oh, okay. Okay, go.
Apart from the Chelsea and Rob, but no with them. I was serious with them.
Oh yeah, no, we know that. We know that.
You know that, don't you?
It'd be nothing without us.
Exactly. Give me a share.
I always admit that.
Aye.
Always a team effort.
Anyway, guys, what's happening? What's going on? What's going on in Nottinghamshire?
Not a great deal at the moment, mate. The sun's shining. It's way too hot. We've not had rain for about a week, so we had a few spots the other day. But yeah, just we're taking an extended break over the summer period at the moment, bud. We've had a little bit of a rejig of the team, a little bit of a rebrand, new logo, which Rob is currently knocking up for us, and yeah, we've just signed a new contract with Paraflix for a brand new show, which will be coming out probably next year.
I did with Patty on a few nights back, and I did say to her that I would mention her to you. So, there you go, Patty. If you're going to watch this, I've dropped your name in there.
You know, she's one of the executives for Paraflix, and we've never spoken to her.
You've never ever spoken to her?
No.
She's lovely.
Yeah, we go through Natalie. I think, like, because there's half a dozen execs, or at least there used to be, and each one has their own sort of like section of content producers that they deal with, and we go through Natalie. But yeah, we've never spoke to Patty at all. Seen her on your show, obviously, but yeah, I've always thought, you know, it'd be nice to bump into her or just have a chat with her. She's technically our boss.
Well, we can organise a little show if you want.
You can do.
Get your own.
Is that your answer to everything in life?
Aye, get them on the panel, get them on the same panel, and let them just chinwag all night. Aye.
For an hour.
For 60 tonight, I will. Patty's lovely, she's really, really down to earth, as everybody knows, and unfortunately kind of limited to 60 minutes, which is fair enough. She is a busy lady, so we're all grateful that she manages to slot us into her schedule, as we are with you, John, as well. You know, that you managed to slot us in.
It's never an issue to come in and see you two, joking aside. You know, it's always a pleasure.
It is indeed. Even Facebook user. That's what I like about you. As I say, you're one of the first teams we spoke to back in 1927. You know,
It's getting further and further back.
and I forgot what I was going to say now. And we have, I mean, don't get me going with everybody. You know, we've made many good friends throughout the years, what have you, but it's our two teams seem to have bonded, and then obviously we did Nottingham Forest. Jesus.
Sherwood Forest.
Almost.
Sherwood Forest, there's Laura, one of ours. She's a wee bit under the weather tonight, otherwise she would have been joining us. I've heard that Nottingham Forest is a football team, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Aye. We done Sherwood Forest together, not Nottingham Forest.
I'm surprised you care if I think.
I know Rangers and Celtic and stuff, but that's it, basically. And we have remained close. And they are a great team. John is an individual unto his own. Chelsea and Rob are great. And there's a lovely Kim, who is floating about, we've been told. The voice from the...
Embodied voice.
The voice of the show. But although saying that, Kim did sort of come out for most of season 4, so she's come from behind the microphone, being investigator as well. But yeah, I mean, without everybody, mate, Rob as the cameraman, Chelsea, Cheryl, researchers, Kim as narrator, wouldn't be a show. It just wouldn't be.
Because you need that bond, but you know what I mean. You need that everybody to kind of pull together and do their own bit, sort of thing. You know, otherwise there's going to be a breakdown somewhere.
Yes.
You know, I think all teams experience at one point or another. So when is GSI heading for Scotland?
Well, we are currently talking about next year. We have discussed it. We are looking at it to come up to you probably when it warms up a little more. It's Scotland, so it never warms up. We'll say when it dries up, maybe, but that might not happen either.
I'm just going to jump in there, Mr. John.
Mr. John.
Evening, Nando, I'm just going to jump in there, Mr. John. 2 weeks ago, we had a heat wave. I was walking about topless, and I never apologised for it for about a week.
You had a heat wave. What was it, 8 degrees?
Yeah, what was it when we were out investigating?
We were out investigating during the day once, and it was 30 degrees, 30 or 31 degrees. With the caught. Aye, we were in Scotland, weren't we? Aye, no, it was definitely up here.
I like the
Global
fact that
warming,
he
dude.
does have to check in with Sarah that he was in fact in Scotland. Like, we were in Scotland, weren't we?
No, it was definitely
For you as well.
it was a roasting.
Oh, it was. And one day we headed for Loch Lomond. We were in swimming in Loch Lomond. That's how warm it was, you know. So we do get heat waves once every 25 years.
The water.
Yeah.
And the water was still freezing, the water wasn't heated, but you know, we're Scottish people, we can take that. So, you know, you don't necessarily. What was I saying?
About coming up to Scotland, we're looking for next year, but we'll probably say late spring, early summer-ish. Obviously, we've got to discuss it with the team, make sure everyone can get the time off and stuff, but it's definitely in the works to come up and see you guys next year.
Good. So you planning any kind of Paraflex episodes up here?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you've said you've got numerous locations for us. So the new show that we'll be doing, we're going to have like a Scottish section. You know, we might go to Wales and film some stuff, possibly over to Ireland, down to Cornwall, although that's still technically England. But, you know, sort of like get some decent places around the country and try and focus on them for different series.
But do remember we come up here, it's iron brew and sausage rolls for dinner.
Sausage rolls is fine. You can keep your iron brew. I'll just go thirsty.
We could get them the new iron brew, the ice cream or the tropical one.
There's 2 new brands out, a tropical one or an ice cream one.
Are they edible? Or are they poisonous like that can you gave me at Sherwood?
I don't know. I've not tried
That was funny. That was really that was a good one.
And I've drank piss before.
When we investigated with them at Sherwood, I was going to say Nottingham Forest again there. At Sherwood, John's a great lover of iron brew, so we made a deal that, you know, if we ever met up, he had to drink a can of Iron Brew. So we met up, and give him his due, he did drink it, and it was funny. I do think we've still got the video of it.
I've got it somewhere.
But let's just...
We've all got a version of it somewhere. We was all found out.
It was fun. Let's just say the after effects.
Oh, fine. You never warned me about that, did you?
What's the fun in that?
It blew me head off.
If I'd warned you, would you have drank it?
Probably, because I'm a bit stupid like that. I promised you I would, so I
Say
probably would
that
have gone
again.
through it anyway.
But no, it was a fantastic night. But the Iron Brew definitely highlighted the whole evening, shall we say? And when they come to Scotland, then it will be repeating the process. I can assure you.
I'll have one can. That's it.
That's all it takes. And you,
Yeah,
Get on diet Iron Brew. It's not
I
as
will get
gassy.
you diet, you know, in case you're putting a wee bit of podge on there like myself. No, a wee bit of veranda over the toy shop syndrome. You know what I'm saying? So, how's you, Rob? Enough talk about John.
Yeah, all good. Just made a shopping list today. Got a couple £100 of supplies that we need, new bits of tech, rigs, stuff like that. So, yeah, looking to spend a lot of money out of John's account very soon.
I like how they put that there. I like to spend a lot out of John's account.
it's not coming out of
His
anyone
name's on the
else.
contract. It's coming out of his
Yeah.
account.
My name's on the contract. It comes out of my account.
Has he got a few bucks stashed away, like for a rainy day sort of thing, a wee nest egg?
I don't know. We've been putting, like, as a team, money in a pot to kind of like deal with a few behind the scenes stuff. So like fuel for the longer road trips we need to take and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of cash built up, like a small reserve. And then I'm not going to say too much, but we've struck a big deal with Paraflix. So that's going to be like pushing us further now. So yeah,
That's a lot.
it's just going to go upwards in what we can do now.
So, listen, I think I said before when and John said it's going to get bigger with this as well. I do know. When we first met to now, basically, you know, GSI as a whole has evolved so much and grown and came on so much since like 3 years, 2.5 years, something like that. Since way back then. You know, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely amazing how well you have, you know, done. I know it sounds kind of cheesy and stuff, doesn't it? It does a wee bit, but
It's appreciated, bud.
you know. So Chelsea, what about you? What's happening, Rob? How's things in the land of Chelsea?
Not bad. No longer in hospitality. Got a nice desk job, which means I'm actually free to come out on investigations more, which I'm very excited about. I kind of got the job as we started our break season, but going back, like with the investigations being at the weekends, I'll be able to attend a lot more of them now instead of the occasional 2 or 3 here and there.
Good stuff. So you will see a lot more on camera then.
In theory, yeah.
And why would that be?
Because I am a trainee presenter now, in theory.
Chelsea's going to be co-presenter with me on the new show. So she's training to be a presenter at the moment. So she's stepping up. So we've got some class in front of the camera, you know, not just fat Scottish beef. English, sorry. Not Scottish. Sorry, I can't. Stop saying Scottish, can I do? Sorry.
Oh, the cheek of it.
Sorry. English.
Thank you for correcting yourself.
I do apologise, Scott.
I mean, It's not even 9 o'clock. It's like,
Was that a genuine mistake, or were you making a jab? Because I genuinely can't tell.
Would I ever jab Scott?
Right, so
For the Iron Brew, probably.
Just pissing a candy. But yes,
Orange.
Chelsea is now a trainee presenter, and Rob is the lead camera technician for the team now. So
Well, just not camera
he's
tech,
also
just
helping me
overall
with some of
tech.
the edit. If we end up doing some of the YouTube stuff, Rob also is helping with the edits. So everyone's stepping in to take a chunk to make sure that things run along smoothly, which is what everybody in the team should be doing.
well, Chelsea, I wish you all the best for your co-presenter. I hope you're better than John because he sucks.
thank you.
You love it.
He's training them.
Yeah, I'm training
I was going to
her.
say, yeah, I mean, we've got to bear in mind that I am being by so 50-50 on how it's going to go.
You'll do better than me anyway. I go in front of the camera and I freeze.
You did all right at Sherwood. You did fine.
Mind
I
it.
to be fair. Yeah.
You've not seen the Edinburgh episode, have you?
No, because it's deleted from everywhere.
I don't think so.
Well, carry on.
No, you tell it. I'm too embarrassed.
Way back at the start in 1913.
You're getting further back.
I'll be into the 1700s soon. You watch me. we done a kind of mini tour of Edinburgh at night time. So we're up at the castle and put Sarah on camera, and she lasted about 15 seconds, and then she says, "I don't know what to say," and that was it. That was the end of it. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, Scott wasn't even anywhere near me, so I had to look about from and try and kind of, whilst no looking like an absolute fool.
But I think that you'll probably find this with filming as well. That's part of the fun part, the things that go wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Usually the famous horse incident way back,
Yeah.
But the things that kind of go wrong in camera, and I think he's good. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I like your input on it. I think it's good when things go wrong on camera because it lets people see that it's just normal. You make mistakes, you goof up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It keeps the team grounded. It shows people that we're just human beings and, having a laugh while you're filming. It's a serious subject, obviously, but if something goes awry, you've got to have a laugh about it, haven't you? And, it helps for people to relate, and I think they enjoy the content more. We've had plenty of comments from Paraflix for the last season that we did of In Search Of, saying that there was plenty of humour injected into that, and it made a really nice change.
I was going to say we could make a full episode out of just the intro outtakes from you from season 4.
Yeah.
So who makes the most boo-boos?
John.
I do, but I do the most talking. So on a ratio, who would it be?
I
John.
think the horses
Horses with their hands
from
down.
Ian Village, and they just wouldn't leave the cameras alone and kept the conversation over.
I do the most boo-boos, but I do all the talking, so it's par for the course. I'd never write anything down. It's all ad-libbed as well, so, it takes a few takes sometime to get it right.
I see the first comment up for Laura first. Sarah not knowing what to say, that'd be a first I love you, wifey.
Hello on camera. Lives as well, actually. There's been a few lives where I've just blanked and like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, the horses at Ian Village was some people would call it a nightmare. What can you do? One of the horses trying to eat a camera. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
We left the apples in the car, didn't we?
We did.
There's not a lot you can do, and it's not that we used to start the Wallace show. There's just no time to get round to it, and but as you say, writing stuff down and that never works.
No.
No offense to anybody does it, and probably work for other people. That's fine, but we tried it, and it sounds too. It's going to sound stupid. Sounds too scripted, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because you're reading off this bit of paper and stuff like that. I think you're better just winging it and see what happens.
Well, that's what I think makes Kim a decent narrator. Is everything is written down for her, but she has this technique of making it sound not written down. You know what I mean?
The thing is
It's
with
almost
that,
like
the
she's
thing is
giving
with
like a
that,
history lecture.
John,
So-
the thing is with that, you write it, I proofread it, Chelsea proofread it, then Kim has to read it, and then
And then
goes, "This
changes
is
it."
still wrong."
Well, she's still reading whatever's been written at the end of the day, but she never reads it like it's scripted. And I think that's a really good thing.
As also, I've heard quite a few Kim's intros, and she does make it interesting. She makes you want to watch it.
Mhm.
You know, I've watched some shows, and you know, the intro, you think, oh, bang, you're going away. You know, I'd rather go and shave my lawn or something like that than watch you.
Shave your lawn.
Aye, that's how exciting the programme is. You rack a big razor to your grass. You know, it'd be more fun.
Are you talking a euphemism now, or
No, I'm not talking about my head. I'm talking about the actual grass. What's a euphemism? Don't know what that word means, so I'll just say no.
sorry?
Totally different.
You forget, John, I'm from Glasgow. We couldn't afford fancy words growing up. Know what I mean? we were too tight-fisted to buy fancy words, so we just stuck with your basics, right? Oh, you, where you going? Stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, whatever works, mate.
And you went to uni when you were younger.
Aye, I went to uni. As a janitor.
Really?
I was a janitor. It's a Scottish saying, smiles. Aye, but no, it's watch yours, and Kim does the intro, and it draws you in the first few minutes with the intro, and you're like, no, I'm going to watch this because it sounds interesting. No, you don't say it looks like, you say it sounds interesting because it does. So I take my hat off to Kim for doing that.
Thank you.
I know she's not down there.
Just here.
She's over there. We've been doing this for 3 years. We've done over 500 shows, right? And see this, I still can't get it right. With Patty and Kate on the other night, and I had them away or that direction, even though they're that direction. And I just can't get the.
It's because the camera flips.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Aye, but that's too complicated for me.
Because we're actually flipped on the camera.
Just opposite. You're opposite.
No, they're flipped because they're in England.
Right.
You're the right way up. People in Scotland are the right way up. No offence to any other English people watching. I love you all. This is solely aimed at Mr. John.
And any other English guest that we have on.
And not that all our guests are fantastic, all our guests are brilliant, but you picked me off what I was going to say. The film and Paraflix, you're in search of, how much time does it take for, putting the first pen to paper to saying, as they say in the movies, that's a wrap?
From the first time researching a location to
finishing
finalizing the edit and having it in the Dropbox ready to be loaded, that it can take that long.
Weeks, probably, per episode.
So do you need to work to a deadline? Or
yes and no. We used to work to my deadline, which was unachievable, even though we managed to achieve it. But it's unachievable, which is why I ended up getting burnt out. My own fault, my own deadline. Now we're doing one season every 12 months plus 1 or 2 specials chucked in over the course of the year. So a Halloween special, maybe a Christmas one or an Easter one, or whatever takes a fancy, in one full season a year. So it's less impact on the team. We've got more time for ourselves, more time
He's
to
finally
edit,
listened to me,
pressure.
basically.
Say again, Rob.
You finally listened to me.
Us.
I actually listened to your mum. So
After me saying for years, don't push it, have a load of stored up and take your time. Because how many seasons did you do in 1 year?
We did 4 seasons in 18 months.
That's a lot. You know, that's way too much. You know, workload. And then obviously you've got your own job and family and all the rest of it as well. And
I had my family time, mate.
no, you don't have. I think that's where I went wrong with my wee ticker episode, shall we say?
Yeah.
You know, back in February.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just trying to do too much. You know, it was constant and.
Well, it was because some weeks you were doing 8, 9 lives because you were doing our lives plus lives on other channels, and then we were out investigating. We were doing various filming projects, and I think it just got too much for you.
So you have to find that balance, you know. And since my episode, we're still at loads planned, you know, but we have kind of slowed it down.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Wait,
Aye, but like say lives, you know, I would do maybe 4 or 5 lives a week. You know,
Yeah.
one the odd week there was maybe 7, you know, one after another. But now it's kind of averaged about 2 or 3. There will be odd weeks where just the way guests, you know yourself, with schedules work out that you have got 4 or 5 lives in the trot. It can't be helped. But as a kind of general rule now, you know, we have kind of slowed down. And it's not affected us, you know, the group's still doing well, what have we? But you will find the difference in order. You don't think that you're going to do 1 season a year, it's going to take the pressure off, so you're going to enjoy it more. I'm not saying you don't enjoy it, but it will make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, it will make it more enjoyable. It became like it was a second job, but which is not the most enjoyable when you feel like you've got, you know, the pressure and the noose around your neck. You've got to meet deadlines, and you know, it's extra pressure on me because I do all the edits, presenting for the show, do Kim's scripts for the narration. You know, so it's one of them things, mate. We've been given a opportunity by Paraflix, and if you're going to do it, you've got to do it properly. So I properly threw myself into it.
You didn't pace yourself.
I didn't pace myself in any way. It's not that I didn't listen to the team, but you know, I put hard work. So you know, I am a perfectionist, so the little niggly things are never good enough. So I'll go back and change it. A 10-second clip can take me an hour to change. You know what I mean? Because I've got to piece it right with the sound and make sure it's all lined up correctly, and then the edit is seamless afterwards. So that's what I'd do. I'd see a little anomaly in an entire show and spend an hour changing 10 seconds. And that doesn't help on top of a 20 to 30 hour schedule per episode that you've got to edit. That's not including research, shooting it, you know, going out to the location itself. That's just editing it. So, yeah, it can be a bit of a nightmare, but I have listened, and you know, I got a little bit unwell by it. So my body said you've got to slow down. My wife said you've got to slow down. The kids have said you've got to slow down. So I'm slowing down.
Oh, 100%. But Laura's saying, my God, Sarah, we have an admission at last. I've got a question for you in 2 seconds. I'll pop it up. But no, you do. I know exactly what you mean. Because I was kind of the same. And you do. It's not that you're not listening to people. I think you get moments where you get the blinkers on, and you're just concentrating on this. You know, the group, what project, whatever. And you are listening to people running about you, but you're not actually listening.
You're not taking it in. You are listening to what they're saying. It just doesn't register. You think, no, you're all right.
I was going to say,
Until you
yeah,
break.
it's you're hearing the words, but because you start off with you're enjoying it, you've been given this opportunity. It's like, yeah, but I enjoy this. I'm not going to get burnt out by it. And then subsequently, you ended up very burnt out.
But you also every season wanted to make it better and even more better and even more better. So the progress
meant more pressure on you to up it a bit more each season?
Yeah, each season I'd learn a little bit more about the editing, but because I knew more about it, it would take longer to do because I'm making it look better. Between seasons 3 and 4, I took a 2-month gap and learned how to edit properly. You know, so it wasn't more like a YouTube video; it was like a proper TV show. But that in itself increased the editing time because now you've got special effects, color saturations you've got to get right, brightness, music, mixing. So it all adds to it. You know, it's a laborious task, but when you see the end product, it's worth it.
Sarah does her editing, and I'm a bit the same as you. I can be quite pernickety with things, you know. When we put the Wallace chair, the Wallace intro together, that took how long?
6 hours or something for a minute 30 clip.
Yeah.
And you get the ideas in your head, you know, and then say, right, we'll do this, we'll do it that way, and then you Sarah puts it up, and then you're watching it back, you think, that's not how I imagined it. Let's skip, you know, and I try to say nuts, but you know yourself, you're not happy with it. You think, no, that needs tweaked here.
I think it's because you obviously don't know, you obviously can't video edit. So you sit in front of the computer when I'm doing it and you're like, can you add a twirly thing in here and a twisty thing here? And I've got to try and figure out what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah.
See, I'm not, Robbie, I'm like, you're the tech guy, obviously. I say twisty things and twirly things and shiny things because that's, you know, basic description. Somebody's saying, is it mainly a Nottingham area of GSI investigate?
Mainly, I suppose technically you could say yes, as we all live in Nottingham. But we travel all over the country to investigate.
So I wasn't there for it, but you did Wales in one night, didn't you?
Yeah, we've done Wales.
Down on the same night.
We've been over to Wales. We've been up to the border near Lancashire, up that way. We've been down south, Devon. So, yeah, we go all over the place, bud. Wherever there's people that get in contact, say, we've seen this, we've seen this, we've seen, you know, we have plenty of activity here. What do you think? We'll go and have a look. And off we go, sort of thing. You know, last season we went to numerous prisons, Hellfire Caves, Demon Church in Lincoln, which was very notorious. Yeah, we go all over the place. I mean, Nottingham's nice because it's local. And there's a lot of history here, as you know. So we do quite a lot of local stuff, but venturing further afield is never a problem.
So you done Wales and back in one day, one night?
Yeah, it was about a 4.5 hour drive each way. So 9 hours driving, and we didn't leave to come back until 1 a.m. So we didn't get back. You know, the sun was up when we got home. You know, people were going off to work, and we were just rocking up after a night investigating. 14-hour investigating that was, and then a 4.5 drive home.
14 hours in bed. That's a long investigation on it. I think that was the longest we've done. 5 hours at Caldwell.
I think so. I
think we've done about 5 hours, and it started raining because we're in Scotland with the crappy weather, and we just got that wee dig in there.
Yeah, but you're digging it yourself, dude.
It's got to beat you to it.
Yeah.
I've got mine all marked in my system now. Most of them.
For now, till he thinks of the next one.
It was a big. If money was no object, where we'd use investigate and why both teams?
Well, mine. Do you want me to say yours as well? Mine is the Japanese suicide forest. Just fascinates me how much negative energy there must be in that place. They've actually got workers which go in each month to clear bodies out. Did you know that?
I watched a documentary on it months ago. As I know, a certain trail you're meant to stick to.
Yeah.
The trail's marked out, and you're warned to stick to this particular trail.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it? You know, why so many people choose there?
Is it a fad? You know, because we went through a phase, didn't we? I mean, the world's a crazy place. People see somebody eating a aerial Tide Pod online and think it's a craze, so everyone starts doing it. So has somebody just found a body in this forest, nicknamed it a Japanese suicide forest, and then millions of teenagers have just gone, oh, that sounds like a good idea, and just start popping the clogs for whatever reason? I don't know, mate. People are strange and weird.
With Japan, they have a lot of stuff it's based in like the history, the folklore. They have a lot of that. But a lot of the people that go in there are actually middle-aged.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what drives people
But-
to do it, mate. I mean, I suppose if you're thinking of taking your own life, you've got to be in some wrong headspace in some way, whether that, you know, you've had a trauma or a traumatic event happen to you. I don't know, bud. But something's got to be broken for you to want to go down that road.
Where were you, Chelsea? Where would you go?
Well, that's a good question. I've been trying to think of an answer.
Kim wants to investigate Alcatraz.
Oh, that's mine.
Ooh,
Is it?
that one.
I like that answer as well. It appeals to me a lot. Alcatraz Island.
I think it'd be interesting to do some of like the trench sites of World Wars, because you had a lot of people that died there that didn't necessarily want to be there. I think it'd be interesting to, you know, see if this, what the soldiers of World War One or World War Two were thinking, or like have to say about, you know, the way they died, what they would have said to the loved ones, messages they had to pass on that they never got a chance to. Because a lot of them were young lads.
They were 17, 18-year-olds, you know.
Think about how many kids were lying about their age to serve as well.
That's a good one. What were you, Rob? Where would you go?
I originally said to do like a massive road trip around like historical landmarks in the UK from like south to north. I've watched a video the other day, and there's a like abandoned city, like medieval city kind of thing in like India, I think it is. It's supposedly the most haunted place in India, and you're actually banned from going there after sundown unless you've got like a government pass to do it.
We need to go.
Yeah. So I thought that would be a pretty decent spot.
What were you, dear?
Winchester House, definitely.
I said that's right.
Ooh. I remember watching a film about that's the one where like you had the original house and then like they kept building rooms onto it, didn't they?
Yeah.
We watched it was a bit of a faction film. It was based on the house, but a lot of Hollywood flair added to it. But that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I have
I didn't
seen
see
as
that.
well recently a lot of TikToks from Edinburgh and like supposedly haunted places in Edinburgh. And there's apparently a tunnel somewhere that links like one castle to another, like one end of the city. And in one of the walls, they sent a pipe boy down, and they went up to the street to like follow him along and hear. And at some point, the piper just went silent. And then when they went to try and find him, there was like just a dead end in this tunnel, and they couldn't find this young lad that had gone down. And apparently, you can still hear him walking down like the tunnel that follows underneath the street. That'd be an interesting one to investigate.
Well, tell the truth.
Aye.
Right.
Pop a wee bubble.
I'm going to pop your bubble, Chelsea.
Oh, no.
I must do it. Right. The Edinburgh Castle is built on a old volcano. And I know the story I talked about. The tunnel is supposed to run from the castle down towards about halfway down the Royal Mile.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, the Edinburgh Vaults are down that area as well. and we're quite close with Jamie Gustorfin, who runs Nudgee Street South Vaults. There's a section in the box where you go down the stairs and it shows you the original, you know, what's underneath the mile, the rock, basically.
Yeah.
The rock that's underneath there is, it's impossible to tunnel through it. I can't mind the name of it, but he showed us this massive big chunk. He says, this is what covers this whole area. Is that the story of the drummer boy isn't true. There's no tunnel. It's just impossible to have dug a tunnel because of the rock. So, you know, there are plenty of other places in Edinburgh, don't get me wrong, but
Well, you have to show us. You have to show us the real ones when we come down.
We will.
We will show you. Don't get me. We love Edinburgh. It's what I say. No, we've done tons and tons in Edinburgh. But I've heard the story. There was two stories. One was a piper. The other one it was a drummer boy.
Yeah.
Nobody was sure which one it was. But the rock is just physically impossible to have dug a tunnel underneath it. And anybody can go and Google it and check it out if they think I'm talking bollocks.
No, I'll take your word for it. I trust you.
So there is no tunnel. There are tunnels, you know, that lead to certain places. There's meant to be a tunnel leads from the castle to Greyfriars, and then from there's even rumours of one that leads to the Mackenzie tomb elsewhere. We're not exactly sure where that one's meant. Whether these are true or not, we don't know. But the one that in the story does not exist. But no, there's loads of places in Edinburgh when you come up, we can take you on a tour. Well, I mean,
Canongate.
Canongate.
No, I'm not going in there.
Aye, we take Canongate.
Oh, that already sounds good.
Ooh.
We went one night. We were going to do. Our plan originally was to do Greyfriars at 3 a.m. We've done Greyfriars at all different times, so we arrived a bit early in Edinburgh. So we went down to Canongate Cut, which is at the bottom end of the Royal Mile, and parked outside. And just as soon as we walk, when you walk in the gate, the church is right in front of you, and then the path splits, and you've got the cut cab surrounding it behind it. As soon as we walked in the gate, we just get this feeling that we weren't wanted. It wasn't demonic or anything like that, you know. It was just that kind of feeling. You're only wanted here, go away. Sarah went back to the car. She headed back to the car, but
Not straight away, never.
No, not straight away, but he ended up back in the car.
Aye, because I was knelt in front of, which is supposed to be David Ritzhule's grave, who was Mary Queen of Scots' best pal. And I seen a shadow, because obviously his grave is right, there's like the church wall, and then his grave sits against it. So I was knelt down taking pictures of it, and then this shadow walked like right by me. And I stood at the wall, but there was nobody there. But you could hear like the footsteps and stuff. And then obviously that, with the feeling that I wasn't wanted, I was like, nope, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And so Sarah went back to the car. I went for a walk. I took a wander in the cut cab.
As you do.
But, you know, if you're not wanted, you go in, don't you? You've got, it's a given. Oh, sorry.
That sounds like John.
You know, you can't say, sorry to disturb you, we'll just bugger off the Greyfriars now. You need to go in and have a wander. But the thing is, now, everybody knows, I've told this story before, but everybody knows I'm quite a laid-back guy. It takes a lot to get me going. But when I came out the Kirkyard that night, I was raging. I was furious. Nothing had happened. You know, I hadn't met anybody, nothing. But I was absolutely furious for no reason.
Not weird.
Get in the car and drove away up to Great. And the further we got away from Canongate, the feeling just disappeared. Now, I don't know where, I know, John, you've been affected in the past with attachments and what have you. I'm not saying it was an attachment or whatever, but it just seemed to rub off on me for, you know, the brief minutes it took me to drive up the Royal Mile.
Yeah.
Sarah will never get back to Canongate Cup. Well, not night time anyway.
That was, what, 2 years ago?
That's about 2 years ago.
And I've no stepped foot in the place.
I dare say she'd go during the day, but night time would be a big no-no, you know. So was an attachment. I'm not going to say, oh, you know, I got affected, it was attacked and all that kind of stuff, because I can't say for sure. But I know, John, you had an episode after you did St Mary's Church, am I right? St Mary's Abbey Church?
St Mary's Church at Colston Bassett, yeah.
and it affected you for a good few days.
Yeah, Vicky had to come round and do a cleansing for me. I wasn't very well while we was filming. I wasn't very well afterwards for a couple of days.
That was when you did the live, wasn't it?
Yeah,
We've been there a few times, and I don't think you've been affected that badly since.
no, but I wasn't
You are.
willingly open that.
Yeah.
Apart from that day, I was willingly asking it to come on to
I've
me.
had my hair pulled there.
Yeah, it's an odd place.
It's, what about you, Rob? Have you ever you done an investigation and felt something, you know, I'm not going to say demonic, but, you know, I'll just say grumpy.
Negative.
Negative.
Can't
Yeah.
chase, Rob.
Cannock Chase, yeah, it felt like it was just constantly being watched from like behind the trees up the hill, and I was just fixated on this one spot, just staring at it, and it felt like I was like just locked eyes with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, what was the last prison we did? Was it Gloucester?
Yes.
That one as well. That was a mad one. We actually got chased out of a prison wing, me and Kim, and like there was someone running behind us over like this galleyway bridge kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that completely spooked us up, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, well, I couldn't hear Kim there. What's she say? Sorry, doll.
It was a Scooby-Doo moment. Rob jumped into Kim's arms. We was filming
He
at the
was
time,
shook
and
up.
Rob was going back to the outside area to get a bit of fresh air because he'd been spooked a couple of minutes before where something grabbed him. So him and Kim went back to get some fresh air, and this is when this phenomena happened. So we was all at the top of the prison wing, but they'd moved away into a different area on the way back down, and they just got these footsteps charging at them across this bridge, and spun round, and there's nobody there. So of course, shit your pants time, really, isn't it?
Don't think Rob really went back in after that, aside from doing
I went
the
to
outro.
Went
the
into
kitchens,
Yeah.
and then that's when a massive figure came rushing towards me, didn't it?
You had quite a lot that night, didn't you?
Yep.
It's because of your baby face. You had the unsavories after you.
So what? Comical order stick up. What about you, Chelsea? Have you had a Scooby-Doo moment? I'm going to steal that, Kim. Sorry, not a Scooby-Doo.
Stole it off of Rob.
Myself personally, not yet. But I'm a lot like him. I tend to be out. I'm crystalled up to the nines. Like every sort of protective crystal, I've probably got it on. But
I can remember one.
oh,
We was at, I think it was Dorchester Prison, and you and me was taking it in turns to try and get pushed
Yeah.
out of the cell. And it was the first time you'd done that, and you was physically getting moved. Do you remember?
yeah. That's probably like the most activity, like
Yes.
experience that I've had myself, aside from like when I had my hair pulled at
Colston Bassett.
Colston Bassett.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like actual Scooby-Doo moments where I've been scared, it was Cannock Chase when Rob got badly affected, because he towards the end of the night he looked like he was gonna faint, like he had a bit of a dizzy spell, and he just kind of dropped, and I went forward to grab him, but then it felt like something, it didn't feel like he was dropping down, it felt like something was pulling him backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was being yanked away from me trying to hold him, and that, like, it wasn't me personally getting affected, but you know, seeing your partner have a funny turn and then it feel like something's grabbing him after he said he's feeling a bit affected by something negative, it was a bit of a scary situation to be in. Well, not quite scary, but
A bit of a Scooby-Doo moment, you mean?
yeah. But I've not had one where I've felt like Scooby-Doo jumping into someone's arms yet. but I imagine John's going to make sure that changes very soon.
Gonna do my best.
I think if I jumped into somebody's arms, I'd flatten them. You know. I've been in Canongate during day and night and never felt anything at Caldwell affected both Sarah and I emotionally for days after each investigation. That was strange. Sarah and I are the most unemotional people ever. Caldwell was quite a location, so we put it. We felt it was children spirits there, but there was one controlling kind of woman. We called her the matron. Every time we've done it for about 2 months on it, we're into double figures with investigations there, but we always got, you know, evidence, and it was always the same kind of stuff that we got for the same people, basically, you know. So Caldwell was quite good, but as you said, you know, you get your hair pulled and what have you, Chelsea. But I've mentioned this a few times on shows. You get a lot of people who think that a paranormal investigation, that, you know, tables need to be flying about and, you know, headstones skimming through the air and stuff like that. But I'll try to see people, it can be the smallest thing that happens.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when I had my hair pulled, it wasn't like in the movies where it's a massive yank back. It literally felt like it could have been when someone, like, runs their hand through your hair and they catch a knot. Like, it was such a gentle tug. But I had my hair in 2 braids that went, like, down my scalp and down. So it wasn't like my hair was loose and was catching on anything, and it came right from the top, and it was just like this little, like, plink, like picking a daisy, kind of like just a really gentle tug. And we was looking around, weren't we? Like, what could have been, like, there's a lot of bats in the area. Maybe one of them swooped in, like, well, whatever. We literally could not think of anything.
Laura, she had her bum felt once in an investigation. You were scratched, weren't you? I done a sort of Halloween Kirkyard walk last year myself at Loudon, and I had a hoodie on, and I felt 2 sharp tugs on my elbow, the hoodie, my sleeve just went through.
Yeah.
And I know I was there myself. There was nobody else there. So Sarah was scratched. I was there with her, and I know that nobody actually physically touched her. Laura, she got a wee squeeze, you know, when she was sitting down. And as I say, it can be the smallest thing that happens. And I think people's minds just kind of, oh no, that's no paranormal. That's, you know, I want to see a headstone flying through the air and crap like that, which, you know, just to happen.
No.
We've never seen tables lift off the floor or anything yet. Have you?
No.
We've not had that, you know. But that to us, I mean, what your opinion on this? Some people think that to have a good investigation, you need to get loads of stuff, you know, loads of evidence. But we've found even nights we've been out and we've had a flicker of a cat ball, and that's not, you know. But it's not a good night. What do you think? Do you think you need to get loads of evidence, or just wee tweaks here and there?
I mean, it's easier to discount stuff if there's not a lot of evidence. The more evidence you get, the more compelling argument you can make for paranormal activity, obviously. But if you don't get a lot of evidence, it doesn't necessarily mean you've had a bad night. It can still be really interesting and thought-provoking, even though it's not overly active. Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously, we prefer the overly active locations. Of course you do. Paranormal investigators, you wouldn't want that. But no, it doesn't mean that you have a bad night just because it's quiet. I mean, if it's completely dead and nothing happens, then that can be a bit of a chore, especially if you've driven, 5 hours out the way for nothing to happen. But that's the rub of the green. You take the rough with the smooth, don't you? Sometimes paranormal investigating goes that way. You can never judge it. They're not performing monkeys at the end of the day, so they might not want to play up.
Aye, 100%. Don't tell everyone want to go and experience that night. Grayson also had his head. Sarah's brother gets his head touched.
I think the weirdest thing I've ever experienced is mine that night in here. The keys kept swinging on the door. Mind.
Aye.
Last year. And it was a summer's night, so there was no breeze. It's not as if there was a breeze coming in through the keyhole or anything. But the keys, I think I went to the bathroom or something, and the keys were going like that. And I shouted Scott, and he stopped them. And then the minute he walked away, it started again. And this went on for a good 20 minutes.
They weren't giving it, like pendulum style, but they weren't moving enough.
They were moving more than they should have been.
Something was making that move. And this is what I would say about lack of evidence. People say, you need to prove it. And I say, well, all these little things might be nothing, but something's made them happen. Something squeezed Laura's backside, something moved the keys, something tweaked my sleeve that night. Stuff with yourselves as well. And, so that kind of, it doesn't prove 100% the paranormal, but it proves that there is something that can't be explained.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know what I mean.
Coming for you, it made sense.
That's good. That's what made sense. And even I enjoy, even when we go do an investigation and we get nothing, it's just sitting there not knowing what's going to happen in the next 60 seconds, for instance.
Yeah, the anticipation of investigating is always good.
But there's times sometimes when you're out on an investigation, you think nothing's happened, and then you find things when you're ready.
Yeah, we usually get more on the cameras than we've realised.
Yeah.
Sometimes we come away a little bit disappointed of a location, especially if it's been hyped up and people have bigged it up and you go and you come back and you think, well, that was a bit of a dead stick, and then you look back on the footage, you've got footsteps, shadows, mists, whispers, all sorts of stuff which you didn't even hear on the night.
I think the Village is a good example of that, because aside from a few, some trigger objects, which the way the capsules and the REM pods were going off were incredible in their own right, but aside from that voice boxing, it didn't feel like we got too much until it got to the edit, and then it was right before the horses started charging at us, we got two of the clearest EVPs.
Yes.
EVPs that we've ever had on an investigation, and one of them said jump it as these three horses were charging at us. We're just surrounded by these 6 graves and this little tiny stone wall, and we left there thinking good night, but it wasn't as good as the hype would have led it to believe. And then we got to the editing and it was look, we've got this, we've got this, we've got this.
That's something. This comment with Laura first. I love the fact you don't know what's going to happen. It's investigations that help bond the team.
Yep.
I have bring the team together, but just says Chelsea, get the hype. We had it at the Ivy House.
I was just going to say that.
I know you guys done the Ivy House, John. You get scratched. We drove. I don't know. Was there no, wasn't it Ivy?
Rob, you've not been Ivy House, have you?
I went the second time, you idiot.
Oh, did you? Okay. A long time ago.
Back for the big party.
He'll be fucking downgraded, he will. Pot wash you.
They did the Ivy House, didn't they?
Yes.
I did the Ivy House, right.
I can mind you phone John before we went, and he was telling you about the law and the best way to get in. And
that's right. I usually done the Ivy House. It's all rubbish. So we drove down, and I think it was about 6 hours or something took us to drive down, what have you. So we were, because obviously we'd watched, I was going to say DVDs. Jesus, we'd watched videos on the places, so we were expecting all this, activity and what have you, like The Exorcist and what have you. And we get very, very, very little.
Maybe just a bad night, bud. Possibly.
And the problem is a bad night. They probably knew we were Scottish people.
More than likely.
Aye, that's the Scottish people back.
I'm not saying that we didn't get anything, we did, but we just didn't notice it at the time.
Aye, I'll let you tell me about the camera because I always get us wrong.
So
with a light.
We'd put the camera in the room downstairs before we'd went up the stairs, and then you heard our cameras make a bleep when they go off. So we changed the battery before we left to go upstairs, and then it died within like, I don't know, 3 minutes or something. It was quite quick. So Scott went back down and changed the battery to a full one, and then we had a square light on the top of it. But to turn the light off, you need to like turn a wee switch thing, and it makes a click. So anyway, the camera then went back off. So Scott went down, brought the camera up, changed the battery yet again, put it back down, it died. And then it came back on and it was full battery, which was weird. But the light had went off completely. So we just put it down to a technical failure and moved on. And then when we got home, I was reviewing the footage. And just as the light goes off, you hear what sounded like, see the right old fashioned like kid shoes with the wooden...
Yeah.
It sounded like someone was running across the floor with them on.
And was there no kind of childlike kind of giggle?
Aye. I forgot that wee bit.
There was a childlike giggle. The thing was the light went off, but you know yourself, if you touch the light, then the camera's going to move ever so slightly, because you're touching the light, but the camera did not move. The light just went off, and it actually been switched off. The batteries never died because I switched the light back on.
I can see the light dimming in the video though.
You can see it getting dimmer and dimmer. So I thought the batteries had died. Had they died, it'd actually been clicked off. And so that kind of made us wonder. But I know you get scratched there, John.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Your favourite story, and that's why you leave it at.
It was the first time we'd gone, and we was sensing quite a lot of stuff downstairs mainly. There was a few voices. Vicky had seen something which had freaked her out. Footsteps on the stairs. So we'd gone up. We'd gone into one of the back bedrooms and found an old child's book, which I proceeded to read out passages. Because we was getting I think the name Benjamin coming through, a 5-year-old child. We also got the impression that his mother was knocking about as well. So ended up reading some of the storybook in the hope that we'd get a little bit of activity from him, and then went into one of the back bedrooms. And then myself and Vicky was in the middle of the room with video cameras on us, and Ralph had asked, "Show us where you are, do something to show us where you are." And that's when I got scratched. I had 4 layers of clothing on, a backpack on, and in the middle of a room with 2 video cameras on me at the time when it happened, to show that my hands were at the sides. I had K2 meter in one hand, and then as soon as it happened, it felt like I'd been branded, like heat. Didn't feel like a scratch, it felt like heat. So I whipped my backpack off, asked Ralph to look at me back, and there was a big scratch.
So somebody obviously didn't took a wee dislike to you.
Yeah, person.
Then there was a light in that room. You guys remember, like someone was shining a torch in the upstairs room, but we were all downstairs.
Aye, that's right. Mind the footage for the upstairs back room, I think it was. You seen it was like a torch being shone across the camera. But obviously at that point we were all downstairs.
Don't remember that. I don't remember. But you ever go into places, no doubt yourself, because you travel quite a wee bit, you get into places and you know there's somebody there. I hate to say something because spirit's still a person. They get a male feel, whatever, still a person. You know there's someone there, but they just don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we had that quite a lot all over the place we went. But Hellfire Caves is quite a prominent one for that. But that's why you carry so much equipment. So you have to try different techniques to get them to come forward and coax them out to try and communicate if possible. That's why we have bags full of stuff. Because if one thing fails, put that on the side. Let's try something else. If that don't work, let's try something else, and so on and so on. So
the Hellfire Caves, I've watched that on TV. what they like? What's the kind of atmosphere? I know there's all these different stories, you know, attached to the caves, but what was the kind of atmosphere? What did you feel in it?
Well, what I was feeling was different to what everyone else was, but that's because I'm a bit mental.
Yeah.
So, how was you feeling?
I don't know. It's hard to say because a lot of the time that I went round, I think you were lucky in the sense that because you and Rob went back up, you didn't have any of the history
Interference.
tour.
Yeah.
Whereas even though during like the walk around, they didn't go into much, they still gave you like a preconceived idea. Like the banqueting hall had these rooms where you could peek into them, but like they were also kind of private, and there was 2 corridors that went around the outside that looked through them. So then instantly, whenever you was in that room, it felt like people were watching you. And then right at the very bottom was like the super secret meeting room for the blokes that had founded it. And because we knew that was the super secret room that only select few were around, it instantly made it feel like it had more of an atmosphere. But then when we actually got the equipment out, there was nothing. Like we didn't get anything, I don't think, in the very bottom rooms.
We did, and I still don't know what it was to this day. We've got 2 of the exact identical cameras, one pointing straight at me because I'm doing the spiel, the presenting, or whatever else, and one coming at me from a 90-degree right angle. So I've got 2 areas covered. As we're calling out for something to happen, there's a big orb about yay big comes straight down over my face and off. On the camera pointed straight at me, it captures it, but the camera at the right angle, you can't see it. It's not on there at all, and it was yay big. So it's not like a grain of sand or a bit of dust. It was wispy, you know what I mean? Like a stick, like a rod orb. But one camera caught it, the other camera didn't, and they was both pointing from the same distance, the same place, just from a different angle. So why is it on one, not the other?
You think, just before I come to Rob, this might sound daft, but do you think spirit? I mean, we believe that spirit has the capacity to learn. You know, cameras and what have we. We had it at the train station.
Yep.
One night we were going to move the camera with 3 cameras on, and we'd been talking about doing something with cameras, moving and whatever, and it came through the spirit talker, which GSI recommended to us. That was a good shout. What was it? Leave the camera running or something?
Leave the camera running.
Just as we were talking, it says leave the camera running.
Yeah.
Do you think that, you know, as you say, it was caught on one camera, no the other one? Do you think, you know, whoever it was, spirit-wise, can choose, you know, I want to be seen there, but I don't want to be seen there? That makes sense.
Well, it does. That's one that I don't really have an answer for that board, if I'm honest.
It's hard to answer.
That's a
knowing
difficult
how
one.
Spirits work when it comes to manifesting.
I agree with you that spirits have the capacity to learn and communicate and talk and think and all that. Whether they'd have that capacity to, want to be seen on that camera but not on that camera, I suppose it's a question we won't find out until we get to that side. I think, but I can't say yes or no on that one, I'm afraid.
I'd
like to think so, but you know, the paranormal world is very weird and wonderful. So maybe, who knows?
It was just a random thought. I mean, the Caldwell, our first investigation, the Caldwell, we'd a locked off camera running in the corner, and
I don't think it was the first.
I'm sure it was the first, but one of the investigations. So I switched on, just left it running, and we forgot it was there. Next day, I was reviewing the footage, and it turned off after about 6.5, 7 minutes. And so Sarah says, "You sure it was running?" I says, "It was running because it's recorded the first 6 or so minutes of what we were doing." And then we thought, well, it was round about that time that activity started to happen. You know, we started to get activity. So was it a case of spirit turning that camera off because they wanted to, you know, do stuff and they didn't want to be seen or picked up? It was just, you know, it just seemed a wee bit weird that the camera goes off and then stuff starts happening.
Well, in a similar vein, Bud, when we did 30 East Drive, we had 2 lock-offs where they classified where the portals were, one at the bottom of the stairs looking up the stairs, one in the bathroom looking down the stairs and across the landing. The investigation before the 30 East Drive one, those cameras didn't turn off once. On the night, they turned off 16 times over the course of the night. The next investigation, without charging, they didn't turn off once. So pre and post investigation, they didn't go off at all. Over the course of the night at East Drive, they went off 16 times. One of the times is when I was asking for something to manipulate a cat ball. The camera at the top of the stairs turned off. Instantly, the cat ball it was pointed at started flashing. As soon as the camera turned off.
Right, what about the REM pods?
Yeah, but that was not so much with the cameras, was it?
There was another tech that get so hard to get them pods off, yet they were just going off all the time.
Yeah, they were going off constant. We had 3 REM pods set up around the stone circle at Nine Ladies. We'd previously investigated there and got almost nothing. It was a nice investigation, but not a lot. These 3 REM pods were going off non-stop for about 45 minutes, non-stop. Whether you walked up to them, whether you moved away from them. The ones that you had to get quite close to, Kim tested it, and you had to get within about 6 inches to set it off. Everyone backed off. I mean, you're talking 5-10 meters, and there was constantly going off non-stop, 3 of them, and we couldn't work it out. But we put them in a Tupperware dish that night and taped it up, and then took them out on the next investigation without changing the batches or anything. They didn't go off once.
You see, something similar has happened to us. What's your take on it, Rob, the tech side, with REM pods and stuff? I know there is a lot of people out there put them down and say they're easily manipulated and, all that kind of stuff. But with you being the kind of tech guy in the team, how reliable do you think REM pods and such are?
There's some that I don't trust. We've been out with a few different people who have used them, and I think theirs are just broken. They'll just go off and just keep going. They'll just keep going until you reset it, and then nothing will happen, like at all. It'll just go off randomly, keep going, and everything like that. So I don't really trust that. I'd rather have like tech that we can vet and like test, make sure it works properly and everything like that, and can be like, yeah, this actually works. With some of the phone apps as well, I'm a bit on the fence with some of them, but what John's been doing, the blindfold necrophonic app and stuff like that, it seems to be getting coherent answers a lot. So I'm a bit more open to doing more of that. Again, like there's so much tech out there that has been made, but you don't know if it works because you've not tried it or anything like that. You've just got to take someone's word on it, really.
I mean, there is. We're not a very tech team, are we?
No.
I'm thick, so that's why I don't do tech. I'm stupid, basically.
I think when we started, we were quite tech orientated, but now we've scaled back a lot.
When we started, because obviously we're just getting into it, I think we watched too many ghost shows, didn't we?
Aye.
And they, all the
you did.
toys, all right, I did. And so they had all the toys and whistles. He's like, you need to get one of them because Ghost Adventures has got this, or Most Haunted get this, so we need to get that. And, but you kind of learn your lesson. But I think it's time we were kind of cut back on our tech.
It's not even that. It was a lot for the team to carry because obviously I can't physically carry anything, so it was down to you and Laura and everybody else. So I think walking about with 16 bags full is a bit OTT.
Aye, it was a wee bit, but I mean the REM pods. Charlie makes your REM pods, and the reason I was asking how reliable do you think they are is because we did an investigation, the first bit at the train station, and with a REM pod on the floor, and it was going off constantly. sometimes it's random, but other times when we, asked for it to go, basically. And we took a wee break during that investigation, maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Mhm.
We went into the next room, and we left the voice recorder running. And during that entire time, the REM pod went off once, and that was. But when we went back in the room and restarted again, it started going off again.
Mm.
And so I thought that was quite strange. But I've got a couple of times for Laura to stick up. I will put them up on a wee side, Laura. Don't worry, doll. What? I'm watching the thing. Don't worry, I'm watching the thing. Excuse me, everyone's pulling you up in it. I mean, what about basics? Basic stuff. No offense, Rob. I know you're a tech guy and you love your tech stuff. No offense. What about your kind of basic stuff like ping pong balls, bells with string on them, stuff like that? Cheap stuff.
Yeah, they've always got their place. Bells with string, you've got to make sure you're putting them in a room which has an absolutely zero breeze. Ping pong balls, make sure they're not on an even floor. But yeah, I mean, if you get a piece of paper, stick 2 or 3 ping pong balls on them, and if you're confident that they're flat, draw around them. And then if they move even slightly, you'll see that they're out the circle. So that's a good little trigger object. Anything like that, it's ideal.
Because what's your view, Chelsea, on the basic stuff?
Huh?
What's your view on the basic stuff? I don't know if she was sleeping or it's because I'm speaking Scottish.
It's the accent. I think the simple stuff's always going to have a place because you've got things like dowsing rods. And yes, you get your fancy versions of them now where they're like the sleek metal or they're made out of copper. But you can go right back to basics, to the days when people just used twigs of a certain shape and use that for divination and finding water and getting answers and stuff. Ouija boards, which have been around for God knows how long, and yet they're still a staple in many, many investigators. And they're quite simple things. You can DIY it with a bit of paper, a black marker, and a glass. You don't need to go out and buy these £100 fancy boards and things like that.
I know people have been having digs at cat balls recently, and Ouija board seems to be the latest target. That people are saying that, and it's usually said they've been running for a long, long time. But seemingly in the past month or two, people have been having digs at the Ouija board, saying it's all the crap. What about? I'm going to ask the tech guy what he thinks about basic stuff.
Go for it.
So, what's your opinion, Rob? On would you do away with the tech and get back to basics, or do you think they still have a sort of even part to play investigation-wise?
Yeah, I still think a nice even split is still nice. When we done Grizzly Hall, I put ping pong balls out and stuff like that, just trying to find little bits and bobs and stuff like that. If you are going to do it, you do need more tech equipment to then probably capture it. So you might need another camera to be lock off to see if it does move or anything like that, or if you just want to go back every now and then. But if you don't have a lock off and it moves, are people just going to be like, well, they stopped recording, someone went and moved it, they went and recorded it. So it's protecting yourself, your legitimacy and everything like that. So if you are going to be basic, you do have to have a lot of tech behind you to then help you, prove your theory kind of thing. Like even our lock off cameras have got super powerful microphones on them. So when we're nowhere near it, you can still hear us slightly, but any bit of noise that's in like a 20-meter radius, you'll hear it clear as day. And I think that's a big thing for us as well, is capturing stuff when we're not there. It happens all the time, and we'll go back and see it in the edits and be like, wow, that's just happened. One example as well, going back to Ivy House, when I went there, John's second time, we had a lock-off camera at the top of the stairs, looking down the stairs and across into the other set of rooms. We was in the living room and we could hear steps upstairs. So we stopped for a little bit, spoke about it just to see what we could hear. We went back to check the footage and the camera literally wobbled, like someone's just bumped into it, going from one room to the other. It just wobbled. It didn't fall over, it just kind of wobbled like that and then went back. But yeah, that was just like, how do you explain that?
We were all on the floor downstairs, weren't we?
There's only, what, 4 or 5 of us?
Yeah.
I'd like to get back to that. That's gave me another idea. I'll talk to you about that off camera. It's just, you get easy. You're probably saying, John, you get wee ideas pop into your head. You know, just kind of parachute in and they stay there. Basically. For a couple of laws, just do you think you've more chance of capturing evidence, and do you think it makes spirit maybe trust you more if you use basic methods? Say you get a spirit for the 17th, 18th century kind of thing.
So your era?
My era, with my time.
It depends, because a lot of the time Chelsea says this a lot. What if they were uneducated, if they came from poverty-stricken families and stuff like that? What if they don't know how to read, write, or something like that? How can you decipher what they're trying to tell you? When we're doing Ouija boards a lot, we can get utter random nonsense coming through, and it'll be in the prisons where it happened. So if you're a criminal back in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, you didn't have an education, you didn't know how to read, didn't know how to write, you barely knew how to spell your own name. So it's like, how are we gonna get that coming through? And I think that's where the technology is more on your side there. Audio recorders, the apps and stuff like that, that if they're able to say it, then we'll use that. If they can't spell it, then that's another avenue we'll have to try and find out. But yeah, it's all give and take, part and parcel. You got to like think on your feet of what to do. But having a lot of good tech and a lot of basic stuff as well does help to get you over the line.
Yeah, and if you also think, Scott, you're dealing with different time variants, but you're also dealing with different age ranges as well and sexes. You know, you can have kids, infants, teenagers, adults, males, females, possibly even if you're talking Victorian, it could still be gay. You know, you've got to find a technique which they're going to want to hook up with and communicate through. So you've got to try different things. I mean, we've noticed that if it's children, usually they tend to go towards the females, shy away from the males in the group. It's more of a fear thing, you know.
That's what we found at Caldwell. We picked out 3 or 4 kids, individual kids there, and they tended to go more towards Sarah and Laura. And, we did one, there was one particular daytime investigation we done, and it was just Laura, Sarah, and myself. And I basically told to sod off. Then I talked to the wife to talk to Laura and Sarah. And I think it's still on our YouTube channel, but they get quite a lot of intelligent responses through the Necophonic as well, because I wasn't there. And then I turned back, I came back, and whoever it was wasn't too happy. So there was history of kids being there, and we know we picked up. So John, I think kids do tend to sort of lean towards women. You're a kind of mother, grandmother figure,
Nanny.
Especially at Caldwell, I think, like you were saying, it was quite prevalent there.
They preferred the woman. Laura's quick question for Laura, or she put this up as well. Not thick, just technical. Take that word challenge, Gaffer. Best piece of evidence you've captured. I was challenged. Full stop. Best piece of evidence you've ever caught.
It's different for me because I tend to sense a lot of the stuff coming through. So a lot of the evidence that I get, these guys only experience through me. They can't actually visualize what I'm getting. So for me, that's always the best evidence. Apart from the scratch, that's the best physical evidence I've ever got. But communicating, getting images, reeling off all sorts of messages and then getting it corroborated by a historian is the best evidence for me. I don't know about you guys.
For me personally, it's somewhere between. I don't know if you'd consider it a human pendulum, but in Dorchester, when we was asking the spirit to push us out the cell, because the whole reason we were in that cell in the first place is I'd seen a shadow go into it. Mm-hmm. And then we went in and like you were getting really aggressively pushed. And I was standing behind him to make sure he didn't go toppling over and I could feel the force. But then when we swapped over, I was still being pushed, but nowhere near as aggressively. And it was that difference in the attitude because obviously you being a bloke, you being female. Well, that's what we was assuming it was.
Yeah, Chelsea's more quietly spoken, where I'm really trying to goad it to get a reaction out of it. Clearly, it took a dislike to me, but just wanted to try and prove something to Chelsea. I think.
Yeah. But then as well, I think for me, it'd be one of the prisons. We didn't notice it when we was going, but there was a lock-off camera, and you saw a shadow in one of the doorways. Yeah. And none of us were on that floor at that point, I think. Or we were all on the other side of the camera, and we were on our own in that wing. So all of our team is the other side, and then there's just this shadow in a doorway in front of the camera, and we couldn't figure out, like, there was no other explanation for it. There's no one else in that wing with us at that time.
Clearly a shadow of a person there moving, because you could see it moving in and out the doorway, but we're all accounted for at the opposite end of the wing, and it's a lock off.
Somebody's made the shadow. What were you, Rob? What's your kind of best piece?
I'd probably say again one of the prisons, Shepton Mallet, the hospital wing. We've just left this room that had this red, like kind of TV cabinet style thing in there with like a few cupboard drawers and stuff, and
Gloucester.
That was
a
Gloucester.
few doors and stuff. Oh, was it Gloucester?
Yeah.
Okay, well, one of the prisons. So we just finished up in there. All left through one door. There's two doors, but was the only people in there. Everyone was on frame in camera, and then there's just this massive bang coming from the hospital wing, and we was like, what the was that? We all literally turned around, walked straight back in. Nothing there. There was no way really out apart from in our visible eye line.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all, me and John go in there, just start smacking this red cabinet, trying to figure out what it was. Yeah, we look like right idiots, but yeah, something either slammed against it, slammed a door or something like that on that. And yeah, that's probably the best thing that I think I've captured on camera.
Well, the thing with that door, it wasn't like a normal, it was like that. It was broken, so it was hanging off its hinges. It was really stiff to move. And it wasn't like it had just been lifted and dropped. It was literally like a smacked down. Like it, all of us, even John and Ralph at the time, like turned around and were like, what on earth was that? Like it made all of us jump out of our skin.
It's when you get that and everybody hears it, you know, and everybody reacts to it, then, you know, it's different if one person, did you hear that? No, I've never heard the thing. Then you can count it out. But if everybody hears the same thing at the same time, you think, right, well, something made that noise because everybody kind of heard it. Right? What was your bit?
Definitely got to be back in the early days when we caught that shadow on the laser grid.
In 1873.
Aye. That's no way we could have. We're too fat. It wasn't one of us because we're too fat. This was a skinny shadow.
I went by the wall. That we can't explain that. My bit, I would say, is Loudon Kirk. Long story sideways. We've done Loudon Kirk loads of times, and we're building up trust there. We feel we're building up a relationship with spirits. Just before, we know there's kids spirits there. just before Christmas, Craig and I went down and we left a wee toy train and a wee angel doll down at the Kirkyards, you know, that these are for you, it's Christmas stuff. We went back the first week in January and with the necrophonic running, and I said, can you tell me what gifts we left for the children? And we got back toy, train, and doll.
Yeah.
The bell through the necrophonic.
Really, that's your favourite?
That's because it proved then that spirits that were there, they were watching, they were aware of what we were doing, and they remembered.
Mm.
You know, and I sent it away to 2 or 3 different people and just says, listen, tell me what you hear through this. And they all came back with, well, I get doll, I get train, and I get toy. And that's my best bit. Yeah. One more question for you for a Facebook user, and then we'll give it a wee wrap up. Can REM pods give false positives?
I think so.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's a technical piece of equipment, isn't it? Anything can give a malfunctional positive, if you like.
I mean, we've been run in by REM pods going off by mice before.
I was going to say, I think it depends on what you mean by a false positive. Because every time we've had like what we'd consider a false positive, it's not that the REM pod's just gone off on its own. It's always been animal interference or someone walked too close to it and not seen it. Like, it's always been something
you can explain,
that's
yeah,
triggered it.
Something normal.
And I don't know.
It depends on what they mean by false positive. I mean, you know, like a K2 meter can go off if there's electrical wires in the area. A REM pod, I suppose, could feed off something very similar. Electromagnetic currents or whatever else, anything like that, electrical disturbances. So I suppose you could get a false positive. It could, like Rob says, he's seen REM pods that he thinks are broken because they either continually go off, and once you reset them, they never go off. It's almost like it's methodical, you know what I mean? Almost programmed in a way.
Yeah, timed or something like that.
Yeah.
You see, I don't know. I don't got a clue. But we'll wind it up there, folks. Because I know John's getting tired tonight. You can see his wee eyes.
He's usually be in bed by now.
I know. So I'll keep a holiday just for a wee second after we come off. Where can people find GSI?
We're on YouTube. We've not put anything up for a bit. We are taking an extended break, but we will be putting stuff up later on in the year. So YouTube, just Google GSI Ghost Sighting Investigators and you'll find us on there. Instagram, GSI Paranormal IG. On Facebook, GSI Paranormal Events. And on Paraflix, GSI In Search Of. 4 seasons on there now. If people want to check that out, if they go to, there is a free video you can now watch for free on there. A certain amount of content, and one of our videos is on there for free. Dorchester Prison Part 1, I think. But if people do want to subscribe to it, it's about £3 a month. And if they put our code GSI10 in the monthly checkout, then they'll get an extra discount on top of that as well. You can use that discount as often as you want. So yeah, we're here, there, and everywhere at the moment.
Everywhere. So I'm going to ask them this question before we wind up. It's a wee quick question. So you get 4 seasons on Paraflix. You're on YouTube, everywhere else. Do you get recognised in the street yet?
I have actually had one lad while me and Kim were on a bike ride, and the schools had kicked out. And she was in front of me, fucking kids are everywhere. So you're trying to weave through all these kids. They're not making room for you or anything. So, of course, you got to slow down. And I could see one of these kids looking at me and nodding to his friends. And I was like, what's this cocky little shit? You know, what's he fucking looking at? So, anyways, we went past. Kim stopped me and said, did you hear what he said? I said, no, that's that guy off the TV. I was like, oh, it is me trying to, what's this little shit doing? You know, because he's in my way.
You sure he wasn't on about Mr. Blobby?
It could have been anything like that, mate. Yeah. He never said where off the TV. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, the odd recognised, mate. Nothing major.
No paparazzi in the hedge or anything yet. No,
No, not yet. No.
nothing yet. No. I should get recognised once as well, don't I?
Aye, in the shop.
And the wee local shop I went into, and this guy was in. He's like, "You're the guy off the TV." That was, I was like, "What?" He says, "You're the guy who's on TV." I was like, he says, "I was watching you last night." No, he says, "On YouTube." I says, "All right, aye." So I'm not exactly the guy. I'm on YouTube, but give that me. So you come out and you're off, back to the car and you're like that, looking for the autograph hunter. That, folk will say, "Why are you walking about with a pen?" You think, "Well, just in case, just in case."
You never know.
Somebody wants to scribble £10.47 per autograph. You know what I mean? With finance.
We've been approached a fair few times asking what we're filming for. You know what I mean? When we do vlogs for Halloween events, I've had YouTubers come over and introduce themselves and shake our hands and where can we see the vlog and stuff like that. But yeah, we've only been on the very, very once or twice occasion been stopped where someone's gone, "You're on YouTube," or "You're on TV," or something like that.
Don't worry, sunshine. The star on Main Street will come eventually.
That's not what it's about, bud. That's not what it's about.
Or wherever there's a pothole. I'm always charged 16 foot. Mate streets, Laura, mate streets. No, but we'll wind up there, folks. So a big thank you to GSI, Chelsea, Rob, and Mr. John as well. And Kim in the background. Let's not forget Kim.
Yeah, don't get me.
Can't you forget the lady herself, the narrator.
Narration.
It's been a long week. It's been a long week. But thanks for watching, folks. And you will be seeing them again. Don't worry. You will be seeing them again. We're back on Monday night with Rosie Cardy and Mike Coble. So hopefully we see you then. But major thanks to GSI. Mind check them out everywhere, John says. And if you see him in the street, ask him for an autograph, for God's sake.
Charge you.
We're always scared.
So that's it, folks. We'll say good night and take care. And we'll see you.
Always a pleasure, guys.
See you next. Bye.